Chapter 1911. Lover's ring. Nameless Nya gently placed his coffee cup on the table and looked at Yuanwan in surprise. Damn sister, no way, right? You don't even know about couples' rings? Couples' rings, as the name indicates. What else could that mean? They're lovers' rings. Lovers' rings? Yuanwan was confused. The ring on her hand and the ring stolen from the Nya family were a pair of freaking lovers' rings? What outrageous joke was this? Yuanwan could understand it if they were child and mother rings, but what the heck was up with lovers' rings? If they were really lovers' rings, then who did this ring belong to? Si Yihan didn't understand the ring's meaning, so could it be that the pair was her old self and Ji Xiran? That was too melodramatic, right? Si Yihan carefully safeguarded her lover ring for so many years and viewed it as a treasure. If Si Yihan learned the truth, Yuanwan couldn't help but shiver. The nickname, Vinegar King of Asia, wasn't an exaggeration. If Si Yihan learned the truth, this ring's fate would be perilous. Wait. Our Fearless Alliance's First Elder said these were child and mother rings. First Elder is wise and is considered the most knowledgeable individual in the Fearless Alliance. Yuanwan murmured. If she had to pick between First Elder and Nameless Nya, she'd definitely choose to believe First Elder. At least First Elder was more reliable overall. Does your First Elder have a wife? Nameless Nya asked her. Yuanwan shook her head reflexively. She'd never heard anything about First Elder having a wife. See, that's it. The First Elder of your Fearless Alliance is famous in the independent state for being childless and wifeless. I heard he hasn't even dated once in his life. Someone like him is knowledgeable and wise, but what the hell does he know about couples' rings and matters between lovers? Nameless Nya prattled on haughtily. Yuanwan pensively turned to Nameless Nya and examined him for almost a minute before asking. Do you have a girlfriend? Nameless Nya. Ahem. Something like a girlfriend is superficial and isn't something you carry with you at birth or death. So no. Nameless Nya shook his head self-righteously. However, I might not have one now, but I used to have one. Nameless Nya added. Oh, which girl was blind enough? A thirst for gossip was ignited in Yuanwan instantly. Nameless Nya suddenly sunk into silence without any sign, and an expression never before seen surfaced in his eyes. An unspeakable desolation and indescribable emotion. Yuanwan furrowed her brows. There seemed to be a story. All that is history. Who wasn't young and stupid once? Who hasn't dabbled in romance once? Forget about that. I'll clearly tell you that these absolutely aren't some child and mother rings though. If they are, I'll kill myself in front of you. They're couples' rings. Nameless Nya adamantly swore. Then Nameless Nya had Yuanwan take off her ring and put the two rings side by side for comparison. Look, first we start with the material. If they're child and mother rings, the rings should have been produced by the same person, and their workmanship shouldn't be so different in quality. Second, look at the design on the back. Your ring is missing a few strokes and this ring has a few strokes. Overall, it looks like a tree sapling. The sapling is the man, and the plant is the woman. Finally, the size of your ring is suitable for a woman to wear while this ring is obviously a men's size, alright? Since when did a pair of child and mother rings have a gender distinction? Dummy. Nameless Nya explained. Chapter 1912. Really true siblings. After half a day, Yuanwan still didn't really understand what Nameless Nya was saying, but felt like he made a lot of sense. Anyway, did you forget what I sold to you the first time we met? Pride and confidence resurged on Nameless Nya's face. How could Yuanwan forget? The item Nameless Nya sold to her back then allowed her to shine brilliantly at the Yi family birthday banquet. I personally crafted all of those creations and specialized in the arts, so I'm too knowledgeable in this area. Don't worry, these are a pair of couples' rings for sure. Nameless Nya continued. Alright. Yuanwan was at a loss for words. Nameless Nya was right though. He was a lot more knowledgeable than First Elder in this specialty, since he could craft his own masterpieces with a freaking lost technique. She couldn't refute his expertise in this area. However, the male lover's ring also has extraordinary workmanship, strictly speaking. It's just a lot dimmer in comparison to your ring. And the workmanship on this sapling is very particular. I'll offer you $100. Sister, sell it to me. Nameless Nya laughed mischievously. Yuan glanced at him. It's not for sale. Look at your stinginess. I look down on you. Nameless Nya rolled his eyes at her. Who gave him the courage to call me stingy? Although I'm really stingy, I'm slightly better than him, alright? We really are true siblings. After dismissing Nameless Nya, Yuan contacted Ji Xiran. She was engaged with Ji Xiran back then, so this ring absolutely belonged to Ji Xiran if the rings were truly couples' rings. Soon Ji Xiran arrived on time. An inscrutable smile was on the man's face as he naturally sat down next to Yuan. Did you have something urgent to discuss? Ji Xiran looked at her with his perpetual warm and gentle smile. Is this yours? Yuan took out the men's ring and placed it in front of Ji Xiran. Ji Xiran scanned the ring. How could it be mine? I told you at the auction that I've only worn that one ring. Wasn't it bought by Lord Azura? It's not yours. Yuan became more surprised. What the heck was this situation? The female ring belonged to her, and she was absolutely certain the male ring didn't belong to Si Yihan since he was clueless about the ring's history and purpose. Now even Ji Xiran denied it. Could it be she freaking wore couples rings with someone else? At that moment, Yuan developed the best melodrama of the year in her mind, but rejected it all a few breaths later. It wasn't realistic. If worryless Nya really wore a couple's ring with another man, the news would have tomed through the entire independent state. Moreover, Nya Linglong and the fake worryless Nya would have definitely sown discord between Ji Xiran and her since this was a significant humiliation to Emperor Ji. They weren't child and mother rings, and she couldn't find the owner of the men's couple's ring. Do you recognize these two rings? Yuan handed both rings to Ji Xiran. I haven't. But based on the design and size, they should be matching couple's rings, right? What, do you want to give it to me? Softness flitted through Ji Xiran's eyes as he joked. Yuan, it's a misunderstanding. An enormous misunderstanding. Chapter 1913. Can't you be more tactful? This isn't mine. Yuan replied with an embarrassed chuckle. I'm also joking, Ji Xiran calmly said. Yuan was still doubtful about Nameless Nya's words earlier, but completely believed it now. After all, even Ji Xiran said they were matching couples' rings, so it shouldn't be wrong. Yuan felt her mind swirling. The female ring belonged to her, but the history of the male ring was a mystery. Xiaofeng, is there another meaning behind these rings? Ji Xiran probed. Yuan shook her head. I'm also unsure. Yuan wasn't on guard against Ji Xiran at all. There wasn't a necessity. If Ji Xiran wanted to harm her, she'd be 6 feet under already and wouldn't have survived to this day. Xiaofeng, the ring you're wearing should have some years on it. The workmanship isn't modern. The other ring has a newer material, so they were probably made in different time periods, Ji Xiran said softly. Are you saying these rings aren't couples' rings? Yuan asked inquisitively. They are couples' rings, Ji Xiran replied. It's just a bit strange that the two rings weren't made by the same person, and perhaps not at the same time. I also don't understand it. It's a rare situation. Yuan wanted to sob. She originally thought the truth would be revealed, but didn't expect the mystery to become more enigmatic. After having dinner with Ji Xiran, Yuan returned to the Fearless Alliance. She tossed the matter with the rings to the back of her mind and started scratching and petting Great White and Virus. She wanted to ask the headmaster of Scarlet Flames Academy to help her conduct another deep hypnosis session first. Maybe she could recall something then. The next morning, Yuan had Big Dipper drive her to Scarlet Flames Academy. The minute Yuan stepped into Scarlet Flames Academy's mission issuance area, her path was blocked by several high-ranking mercenaries. Boss, you're finally back, one of the S-rank mercenaries said. Our luck was quite decent and we acquired a total of 50,000 mercenary points. Yuan became spirited instantly. After verifying the mercenary points, Yuan called Second Elder without further ado and had him wire some money to her and paid the S-rank mercenaries. Should we continue accepting missions, boss? The mercenaries looked at the amount in their account with great satisfaction, their smiles turning more eager. Haha, boss, you're seriously rich. We were just planning earlier to kill you if you couldn't pay up. A tall and bulky S-rank mercenary said with a foolish smile. Yuan, can't you be more freaking tactful? Nonsense. When did we ever plan to kill the boss? Don't listen to his nonsense, boss. Yuan nodded with a "don't worry, I understand" smile on her face. Continue to accept missions, Yuan said. We were just lucky this time and did the missions quickly. This is a long-term job without any time limit, right, boss? An S-rank mercenary asked. No time limit, Yuan answered. After receiving Yuan's promise, the S-rank mercenaries used Yuan's name to accept a large number of missions again. As for Yuan, she planned to use these 50,000 honor points to ask the headmaster to conduct a second hypnosis session on her. She had to figure out the history of the rings. Chapter 1914 considered outwitting. Yuan didn't leave the mission issuance area in a hurry. Before her trip to China, she accepted a mission to eradicate defected mercenaries worth 5,000 points, so she had to submit this mission first. When the mercenaries saw Yuan in the mission issuance area, quiet discussion snaked through the crowd. To the mercenary students, Yuan had clearly become the strangest rookie mercenary of the year at Scarlet Flames Academy. Damn, that's Yuan, right? I heard she's super fierce. She won first place in this year's competition, and also broke one of Nie Linglong's records, and won dozens of rounds. She seriously injured Meng Ku and killed Meng Tian. Those two were S-rank mercenaries. I heard Yuan knows how to use Drunken Fist. She's super fearsome, and doesn't recognize anyone when she's drunk. Several senior brothers also said that Yuan learned her Drunken Fist from wild monkeys and gorillas. Yuan, I learned it from wild monkeys and gorillas. The power of rumors truly couldn't be underestimated soon. Yuan arrived at the mission submission area and lined up. There were several people ahead of her in line. Senior sister. Hurry. You go first. That's right. You should submit your mission first, senior sister. Several B-rank mercenaries jumped in fright when they saw Yuan and hastily moved to the side. Although cutting in line was uncivilized behavior, there was nothing Yuan could do when other people forcefully yielded their spots to her. Hence, Yuan had no choice but to become first in line. At the front, a Scarlet Flames instructor looked at Yuan and commented with a light chuckle. Ah, Yuan, Elder Gong's disciple. You're young and promising with boundless prospects ahead of you. Thank you. I would like to submit my mission, Yuan said. Yuan then handed the photos of the defected mercenaries to the instructor. Oh, this was the mission to eradicate defected mercenaries? Did you finish it? The instructor asked curiously. Yes, Yuan nodded. Then, where are their chopped off heads? The instructor looked around Yuan and discovered she came back empty-handed. Their chopped off heads. Yuan was surprised. There's something wrong with them, right? They freaking want chopped off heads? What absurd joke is this? It was those defected mercenaries who violated China's laws, but if she were to bring their chopped off heads back, then it would be her who violated the law, alright? Whether she could even return or not would be a mystery. No, but I have a video as evidence. Yuan took out her phone and played the video. The contents of the video was those defected mercenaries being arrested by the Chinese police. The instructor stared at the video in disbelief. How is this a mission submission? The mission I accepted called for eradication. This should be considered eradication too, since it was me who called the police. Yuan smiled indifferently. You called the police? The Scarlet Flames instructor was stunned. He'd never seen someone complete a mission like this. Moreover, how could she call the police? That was too disgraceful to Scarlet Flames Academy, alright? That's right. Yuan nodded and cheerfully said, the mission didn't specify how I should finish the mission, so that should be considered outwitting them, right? The instructor. The Scarlet Flames instructor wanted to refute but couldn't think of any comeback after half a day. This mission really didn't say anything about prohibiting outwitting someone, but something like calling the police. Not a single Scarlet Flames student had ever called the police to finish a mission in the history of Scarlet Flames Academy. If news of this got out, In the end, the instructor was left speechless and could only stamp the seal over Yi Wanwan's mission submission document, signifying the completion of the mission. Chapter 1915, Isn't She Afraid of Death? After obtaining 5,000 mercenary honor points, Yi Wanwan strode away, happily satisfied, and returned to the mission issuance area. Moments later, in front of everyone's astonished gazes, Yi Wanwan ripped off 2 S-rank missions and 1 S+ rank mission in succession. S-rank mission. Obtain a personal ring belonging to Emperor Ji, and obtain 10,000 mercenary honor points. S-rank mission. Obtain a strand of hair from Lord Azura, and obtain 10,000 mercenary honor points. S+ rank mission. Escort a token and obtain 7,000 mercenary honor points. Damn. Has Yi Wanwan gone mad? 2 S rank and 1 S+ rank, and they're all freaking related to Lord Azura and Emperor Ji. What in the world is she thinking? I can't understand why she'd pick those 2 S rank missions at all, alright? And damn, look at that S+ rank mission. Escorting a token. And you also have a high risk of being abducted by Azura and initiating a battle. Isn't she serving her life on a silver platter? However, I previously heard that Yi Wanwan accepted 2 missions before and defeated 7-Star and Big Dipper of the Fearless Alliance. Even if she's strong and knows some drunken fist and trained with monkeys and gorillas, this is Lord Azura. Perhaps Lord Azura will be there himself. This is nothing like defeating Big Dipper and 7-Star one by one. When senior sister Nie Linglong set her record back then, she merely single-handedly finished 2 S-rank missions and 1 A+ rank mission within a month, alright? Does Yi Wanwan want to create another record? Isn't she afraid of death? Yi Wanwan completely ignored everyone's prattling and turned to leave after accepting those 3 missions. If she finished these 3 missions, it would be 40,000 more honor points in her account. Rounding the points up, it would be enough for another hypnosis session with the headmaster. She suddenly felt like her memory would soon be recovered, and these honor points weren't so hard to earn. After leaving the mission issuance area, Yi Wanwan first visited Elder Gong and reported her safety to him before swiftly walking toward the headmaster's office. When she arrived at the headmaster's office, she knocked and entered after obtaining permission. Headmaster. Yi Wanwan happily looked at the elderly man reading documents while wearing a pair of glasses. Did you come here to pay back some honor points? The Scarlet Flame's headmaster looked up, surveying her. Yi Wanwan started. She freaking forgot about this. She still owed the headmaster 25,000 honor points. That's right. Yi Wanwan nodded. She pulled out her mission completion documents and paid 25,000 points back to the headmaster. Good, good. You kept your word. The headmaster nodded approvingly at her. Headmaster, I went to China earlier and heard you like to drink, so I brought back some stuff from China for you. Yi Wanwan smiled and placed several bottles of liquor on his desk. The Scarlet Flame's headmaster said, Thanks, you're quite considerate. I also visited China once when I was young. The liquor in China is rather nice indeed. Seeing that the headmaster accepted it, Yi Wanwan grinned and said, Headmaster, I still have 30,000 honor points. Can you please conduct hypnosis on me? Come back when you've gathered 50,000 points. Headmaster, haven't you heard of a saying? Return what you borrowed on time, and you may borrow again next time. I already paid you back 25,000. I'll just owe you 20,000 again. Yi Wanwan cajoled. Chapter 1916. I'm most particular about trustworthiness. The Scarlet Flame's instructor furrowed his brows slightly. How can you act like this? You just paid it back, but you immediately want to go back into debt. You shouldn't have paid it back in the first place. Headmaster, look, you've already accepted my liquor. It was quite hard for me to bring it back from China. Yi Wanwan sighed in despair. You. The headmaster looked at Yi Wanwan bewildered. No wonder she gave him liquor as a present. She was waiting for him here. One might become tied to others because of the things they gave you. If he didn't allow Yi Wanwan to owe him today and word got out, people would think he enjoyed taking advantage of his students. Lie down over there. You have to pay back the 20,000 you owe within a month, the headmaster said grumpily. Of course. Don't worry, I care about trustworthiness the most. Yi Wanwan's smile grew bigger after the headmaster agreed, and she immediately went to lie down on the chair in the office. After the headmaster finished reading over his paperwork, he stood up and walked toward Yi Wanwan. The hypnosis technique played out exactly like last time. After answering a few questions from the headmaster, Yi Wanwan was led by the rhythm of the hypnosis and felt her eyes growing heavy, soon falling into a deep sleep. Drifting between consciousness and unconsciousness, her spirit seemed to separate from her body. In some corner of the independent state, a girl wearing cyan-colored sparring clothes lay on the roadside, blood drenching her body. Gray clouds densely shrouded the sky and heavy rain kept pouring from above. The girl was soaked through and through already, and her blood flowed into the wet dirt, becoming one with the earth. This shocking and ghastly sight was truly unbearable. The girl didn't seem to resist at all against her strong opponent. It wasn't clear whether it was due to her heavy injuries or an utter unwillingness to resist. You truly deserve to die. A somewhat familiar voice spoke. Yi Wanwan looked ahead, but everyone's faces looked like they had a sheet of mosaic laid over them, and she couldn't see anything clearly. Worryless Nya. I want you to die in my hands. Even if you die 10,000 times, you won't make up for the sin you committed. Your death isn't enough. The man's blurry figure stopped next to the girl, and he instantly clutched her by her throat. However, after a long time passed, the man still couldn't kill the girl. Why, tell me, why did this happen? The man fumed with rage, and he hysterically howled. It was you who betrayed us. Rain fell on the girl's face, washing away the scarlet stain from the corner of her mouth. The girl's lips curled up, and she closed her eyes, unwilling to utter a sound. Tell me, why did you do it? The man furiously roared. However, the girl said nothing. Great. You won't talk, huh? That's unimportant. I'll kill you myself, and then accompany you to death. That's all I can do. The man smiled faintly, the reluctance in his eyes transforming into vindictiveness and resolution. However, more time passed and the man still couldn't do it. A few breaths later, the man gritted his teeth and tossed the girl onto the ground before ordering an elderly man in the back. Elder Jean, you come here and kill her. An elderly man stepped out of the dense crowd with a dagger in hand, and the man returned to the car. The elderly man directed the dagger toward the girl's chest. Before the dagger could land, the scene shifted, and a black figure arrived next to the girl as fast as lightning. His icy eyes attempted to freeze the world, and his figure melted into the night. Chapter 1917. Segment of memories. The man moved quicker than the eye could see, and the elderly man was kicked back a dozen meters back and crashed to the ground heavily. The man's gaze landed on the girl, and an indescribable heartache surfaced in his placid and bone-chilling eyes. Does it hurt, Xiaofeng? The man swiftly knelt down and gently pulled the girl into his arms. Why are you here? The girl opened her eyes and weakly looked at this man who resembled a god descending to the mortal world. I was worried about you, the man answered. Is it just you? She stared at him. Just me is enough, the man expressionlessly said. Leave. Forget about me. It's unrelated to you. It was unclear whether it was tears or raindrops on her face. Don't talk. The man carried the girl, allowing her to lean against his chest. The man's bone-chilling gaze set on the dense mass of people ahead. His voice contained the final calm before an apocalypse, and around him was his extremely repressed aura, ready to explode at a moment's notice. The martial arts union, is it? From now on, the independent states, martial arts union must perish. The man's icy gaze sent chills down people's spines. However, this relatively complete memory fragment ended there, and the scenery changed. In China at the sea residence, the man accompanied the girl every second and every minute, not leaving her side for a single moment. The girl frequently sat outside without a word and rejected all food and water. The man had to resort to forceful methods to make the girl eat her food and preserve her life. Just what happened in the independent state? He asked her. However, the girl seemed to intentionally avoid this question. Si Yihan, can you do me a favor? The girl said to the man one day. Help me erase all of my memories, the girl requested. No way. The man was resolute and decisive. Is that so? Even if I want to die? Despair permeated the girl's face. The man sank into silence. The moment before the girl entered the surgery suite, she took out a ring and handed it to the man. See Yihan, this is my most treasured ring. Can you help me safeguard it? The man accepted the ring and studied it for a moment. What is it? The girl smiled faintly and shook her head. You don't need to know. Keep it and hide it. Things passed in the blink of an eye, but it also felt like dozens of decades later when Yi Wanwan in the headmaster's office suddenly opened her eyes and reflexively shot up, fiercely coughing like she'd choked on water. Deep breaths, the Scarlet Flame's headmaster instructed from the side. Yi Wanwan gradually recovered after doing as the headmaster said. A memory impairment like yours should be recovered after 2 more sessions. Go back and rest. The headmaster returned to his desk and started reading his documents again. Yi Wanwan left the office like a zombie, her head buzzing. What she recalled in her hypnotized state this time weren't memory fragments anymore. They were 2 fairly complete segments of memory, and she watched these segments like a movie as an observer. The martial arts union. The shrouded man. Elder Jean who wanted to kill the girl with a dagger. And also, Si Yihan. Everything seemed to connect into a shocking truth. Yi Wanwan was certain that girl was her old self. The second miss of the Nye family, worryless Nye. Chapter 1918. Yi Wanwan's thoughts felt rather chaotic. The information she obtained from her hypnosis session was truly too immense. On top of the 2 complete memory segments, there were also some fragmented memories. For example, some scenes like worryless Nye adopting Nye Linglong, some scenes in vile environments, and some scenes where she encountered wolves, etc. A moment later, Yi Wanwan arrived at the cafe eldest young master Shen opened at Scarlet Flame's academy. The servers at the cafe were evidently a bit fearful when they saw Yi Wanwan. A server hastily served her a cup of coffee before staying far, far away. Yi Wanwan leaned against the back of the sofa and combed through her thoughts. Through these newly recovered memories, Si Yihan finally had nowhere else to hide. He adamantly denied his identity, but the lie collapsed on itself now. In the beginning, Yi Wanwan's objective for coming to the independent state wasn't only to find Si Yihan, but also to address the resentment festering inside her. She couldn't understand why Si Yihan did what he did. Why did he erase memories that belonged to her and turn her into a complete stranger? Yi Wanwan. Moreover, she once wondered if the woman Si Yihan loved was the real but deceased Yi Wanwan, and if she was merely Yi Wanwan's replacement. However, from this hypnosis session, it was actually her own request to have her memory erased and turn into someone else. This was unbelievable and unimaginable to her. Just what did she experience when she was still worryless Nye? After Si Yihan brought worryless Nye to China, worryless Nye was akin to a zombie and even harmed herself and used her life to threaten Si Yihan and force him into erasing her memories. If she knew how freaking troublesome it would be to regain her memory, she wouldn't have screwed herself over back then. What surprised Yi Wanwan more was that rather than recovering her memories during her hypnosis sessions with the headmaster, it was more like her memories had turned into a film and replayed in the depths of her mind. This feeling was very odd. It didn't feel like she experienced these things herself, but she could feel the same things. Through this last hypnosis session, Yi Wanwan finally recalled Elder Jean from the martial arts union as well. No wonder she felt uncomfortable when she first met him back then. She almost died in his hands. Also, who was the man whose face she couldn't see clearly? Why did he want her dead? From her analysis of the obtained information, that man didn't truly want her to die, but Yi Wanwan still couldn't forget the hatred in his eyes. It was a terrifying, torrential hatred. Moreover, the man kept saying that she betrayed him. Could it be? Yi Wanwan's mind instantly filled out a convoluted melodrama, which she quickly realized was impossible after more thought. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. One thing that greatly surprised Yi Wanwan was that Si Yihan called the wounded worryless Nye Xiaofeng when he picked her up. No matter how stupid Yi Wanwan was, she realized the identity of the Xiaofeng Si Yihan referred to. Xiaofeng Feng Baifeng? Yi Wanwan frowned. Could it be that worryless Nye was Baifeng, and Baifeng was worryless Nye? These two people were the same person to begin with. After thinking about it carefully, she knew Ji Xiaoran had an engagement with worryless Nia of the Nia family, but now, it was her who had an engagement with Ji Xiaoran. Chapter 1919. She wants to take off into space. Could it be that worryless Nia created the Fearless Alliance and took on the alias by phone? But Si Yihan doesn't know this? Yi Wanwan murmured. If that was it, everything would make sense and things would be explained perfectly. The Fearless Alliance mistook her for their president because she had another identity on top of being worryless Nia. She was the president of the Fearless Alliance by phone. The bro flat top she impersonated for so long was actually herself. Of course, she still had to ask Ji Xiaoran about the truth of the matter. Soon, Yi Wanwan departed from Scarlet Flame's academy. Through this hypnosis session, she didn't figure out the history and meaning of the ring, but she had a lead at least. Elder Jean of the Martial Arts Union. Yi Wanwan returned to the Fearless Alliance sometime in the afternoon. As soon as she reached the headquarters, she summoned 7 Star, Big Dipper, First Elder and Third Elder. Damn, Sis Feng, why are you back so soon? Didn't you just return to Scarlet Flame's academy this morning? Big Dipper asked curiously. Not only that, but the recently returned Yi Wanwan also called them to the conference room. Did she have to be so solemn? Act more serious. Yi Wanwan shot Big Dipper a look. Okay. Big Dipper nodded and stopped talking. Sis Feng, do you have any orders? 7 Star inquired. Yi Wanwan nodded and said, I'm planning to abduct someone. Her listeners weren't too surprised. Wasn't it normal for the president of the Fearless Alliance to abduct someone? That's it, Sis Feng. Why did you need to stir up such a racket just to abduct a person? Who do you want to abduct, Sis Feng? Asking me to do it should be enough. Big Dipper snickered. Elder Jean. Yi Wanwan answered candidly. Elder Jean. The 4 people looked at each other, bewildered. They couldn't immediately connect this Elder Jean to Elder Jean of the Martial Arts Union. Which Elder Jean? Big Dipper reflexively asked. The one from Martial Arts Union. Didn't he come to the Fearless Alliance to negotiate last time? That Elder Jean. Yi Wanwan clarified. Big Dipper and Third Elder looked like they'd seen a ghost. The Martial Arts Union. Did their president Fearless want to take off into outer space? They could pardon stealing treasures from the Nia family and plundering money from the Shen family since that was work. Now though, she wanted to abduct an elder of the Martial Arts Union. Are you sure you aren't joking, Sis Feng? Big Dipper was incredulous. What was the Martial Arts Union? Even Emperor Ji and Lord Azura couldn't compare to them, let alone the Fearless Alliance. Antagonizing the Martial Arts Union was equivalent to a mantis trying to stop a chariot. It was suicidal. President, please reconsider. The Martial Arts Union isn't easy prey, Third Elder hastily interjected. It wasn't that their Fearless Alliance was afraid of trouble, but it didn't make sense for them to send sheep into the mountain despite knowing there were tigers on the mountain. I've decided already, Yi Wanwan said with a smile. Big Dipper dazedly gave Yi Wanwan a thumbs up. You've gone adrift, Sis Feng. Your ego has really exploded. The entire independent state knew that the Fearless Alliance was fearless and didn't have a single coward. However, being unafraid of death was one thing. They'd never courted death suicidally. Chapter 1920. I'm scared attacking an elder of the Martial Arts Union was the same as declaring war on the Martial Arts Union. Even if Lord Azura and Emperor Ji's factions teamed up together, they might not be enough to defeat the Martial Arts Union, let alone small fry like them. I don't think you should rashly make a decision on this matter, President. We truly don't have enough strength to provoke the Martial Arts Union. The silent First Elder finally spoke up. Who told you we were openly abducting Elder Jean? Yi Wanwan glanced at them. Of course Yi Wanwan knew that blatantly causing trouble like that was a purely suicidal move, and a one-way ticket to the afterlife. However, who said they had to blatantly abduct Elder Jean? Didn't they know to act backhandedly, clobber him with a club, and throw a burlap bag over him? Weren't these basic abilities of the Fearless Alliance? You mean we're operating in secret, Sis Feng? 7 Star was pensive. That's right. Yuanwan nodded. We're merely targeting Elder Jean this time, not the entire martial arts union. Find an opportunity. We'll take advantage of the night, secretly throw a burlap bag over Elder Jean and knock him unconscious with a club. I can imagine it, Big Dipper remarked, rubbing his chin. If you're sure, President, then it'd be best if only the 5 of us knew about this. Otherwise, the consequences upon exposure would be inconceivable. First Elder vigilantly warned. What's there to be afraid of? It's just the mere martial arts union. So what if word gets out? Sis Feng isn't scared, so I'm also not scared, Big Dipper mocked. Yuanwan turned to Big Dipper. I am scared though. Big Dipper. Some amount of time passed before Yuanwan instructed. This matter is greatly important, so only success is permitted and failure is prohibited. First Elder, look into Elder Jin's lifestyle and habits, how many people he brings when he goes out, and what places he likes to visit. Understood. First Elder promptly left. As long as they successfully abducted Elder Jean, everything would be fine. Yuanwan believed that the entire truth would soon be revealed, and she might not need to wait for 2 more hypnosis sessions. First Elder and Third Elder didn't ask about Yuanwan's objective. They simply needed to follow whatever their president decided. If there was a need to tell them, the president would tell them. If the president didn't say anything, there wasn't a need for them to delve into the bottom of things. First Elder didn't return to the Fearless Alliance until the evening. He made a beeline for Yuanwan's office and entered without prior warning. President, First Elder greeted. How did it go? Yuanwan asked him. I've obtained the information. First Elder smiled faintly. Elder Jean of the Martial Arts Union will drive to the Eastern District to deliver supplies and goods to a branch of the Martial Arts Union. He'll have around 2 people with him. Good job. Yuanwan grinned. This would be a perfect opportunity. Soon, Third Elder and the others also came to the office and learned of the scouted information from First Elder. Third Elder provided his analysis. President, the Martial Arts Union typically isn't too cautious since they've reigned supreme over the independent state these past few years, so they shouldn't have many underlying defenses during a supply run. No faction in the independent state would dare to seek trouble from the Martial Arts Union, so they're numb and careless. This is a good opportunity to attack. Chapter 1921. An astronomical misunderstanding after all. Third Elder couldn't allow First Elder to take all the merit. Hold on, just us few isn't enough of a guarantee. How about we bring some more people? As they say, there's strength in numbers. It'd go faster too. Big Dipper suggested. Why do we need so many people? We'd alert the enemies more easily. 7-Star turned to Big Dipper. Big Dipper shook his head. As they say, the bigger group dares to bully anyone in the smaller group, but the smaller group cowers and trembles when they meet the bigger group. Yuanwan glanced at Big Dipper. It sounded really reasonable. After all, they didn't know how many people Elder Jean had with him. What if he brought a lot of people? They had to seize Elder Jean in one go. If the conflict dragged out for too long, the Martial Arts Union would definitely get wind of it, and the consequences would be inconceivable. First Elder, Third Elder, bring some absolutely trusted experts from the Alliance, and let's depart. Yuanwan finally decided after a long contemplation. Okay. First Elder and Third Elder nodded simultaneously. Soon about 7 to 8 people, Second Elder, Fourth Elder, Fifth Elder, and some Hall Masters, arrived at the office. The Fearless Alliance had a total of 7 Elders, 14 Hall Masters, and 72 Helms. However, tonight's operation was too important, and there was no need to bring more people than necessary to crush the other side. Too many people would alert the enemies more easily. After obtaining the details from First Elder, the other Elders and Hall Masters were first surprised before they started to look forward to it. The Fearless Alliance had laid low for too long. They had kept a low profile ever since the President returned to the Fearless Alliance, and hadn't conducted any large operations. Ha ha ha, it's definitely your style, President. I was wondering why you weren't doing any jobs this whole time. It turns out you were planning this large job, Fourth Elder joked. Yuanwan, what a giant misunderstanding. I originally wanted to let that punk Fu Mingxi, follow along and learn something. But forget it since we're dealing with the martial arts union after all. Taking supplies. TSK. It should be quite a large sum. Greed surfaced in Second Elder's eyes. Yuan didn't know what to say about that. Second Elder was the owner of Stars Corporation, so he was considered loaded, right? Why was he so greedy still? Moreover, this time, she really only planned to abduct Elder Jean, and didn't plan to steal the martial arts union's supplies? Was there some misunderstanding? The martial arts union's supplies, huh? What an endeavor, President! The hallmasters were brimming with excitement as they gave Yuan a thumbs up. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Org Yuan. Forget it, let them keep the misunderstanding. Everyone, you must remember that you absolutely can't reveal tonight's events to other people. Only the people present can know about it, understand? Yuan ordered. Hearing this, the elders and hallmasters in this room were incredibly moved. This showed the president's trust in them. The president only called them there, which meant the president trusted them the most in the entire Fearless Alliance. Don't worry, President, we absolutely won't leak a single word. The elders and hallmasters all answered in unison. Good. Yuan nodded. After First Elder told them about the time and route, they boarded the van that First Elder prepared and disappeared into the night using the darkness as their cover. About half an hour later, they stopped at a secluded spot. A spot that people had to pass to head to the Eastern District. Chapter 1922. Since when was this new gig added? The sky was dark without a ray of moonlight, and night settled around them completely. Everyone sat waiting inside the minivan. The place ahead of them was a bridge. If someone wanted to head to the Eastern District, this bridge was a necessary crossing point unless they swam there. Damn, Sis Feng, we've been waiting for so long without a single car in sight. Don't TU me one. He martial arts taking the water route this time. If they are, does that mean we're waiting for nothing? Big Dipper asked, looking at Yuan. Everyone's gaze landed on Big Dipper as they rebuked in unison. Shut your unlucky mouth. Big Dipper. After another half hour passed, 7 Star suddenly opened the door to the minivan. Sis Feng, there's some activity, 7 Star said. Yuan and the others were energized instantly and got out of the minivan. As 7 Star spoke, 3 big trucks were slowly driving toward the bridge in one line. Damn, those are the martial arts union's transport trucks. Big Dipper exclaimed excitedly after narrowing his eyes and seeing the license plates. Let's move. Yuan decisively ordered when she saw the transport trucks approaching. An elderly man in ragged clothes promptly walked forward. Shit, who's this? Big Dipper jolted in fright at this beggar-like old man. First Elder ignored Big Dipper and walked onto the bridge. A moment later, the 3 trucks slowly reached the entrance of the bridge. When the driver saw the scraggly-looking First Elder, he frowned and rapidly pressed his horn while switching between low and high beam on his headlights. However, First Elder appeared to have been frightened and instantly fell onto the ground, lying on his back. Damn! Far away, the secretly observing Big Dipper was astonished. Hustling car drivers. Since when was this new gig added to our Fearless Alliance? What should we do, Elder Jean? The truck driver asked the elderly man sitting behind him. Elder Jean looked ahead pensively. He managed to ascend to the position of an elder in the martial arts union, so how could he lack astuteness? Crush him, Elder Jean ordered. The driver was startled for a second before answering. Understood. The truck at the front slowly drove onto the bridge and completely ignored First Elder, who was pretending to be unconscious on the ground, like he was air. Damn, Sis Feng, I think we should cancel this gig of scamming drivers. It's too dangerous. Big Dipper hastily said to Yuan before dashing to the minivan and stomping on the gas without another word. He sent the minivan spinning to the front of the truck and blocked their path. If First Elder died from a car accident instead, how grievous would that be? Big Dipper didn't dare to linger inside the minivan though, and quickly opened the door and fled outside. He was blocking a truck. Who would dare to stay? Attack! Yuan had no choice but to resort to forceful means since the first plan didn't succeed. Third Elder and Fifth Elder charged ahead immediately. Second elder, fourth elder, and the other hall masters refused to be left behind too. Each person ran faster than the other person and raced toward the truck. The truck at the front was blocked by the minivan that suddenly drove in front of them, so the two trucks behind it naturally had to stop as well. Third elder stopped by the driver's side of the third truck by himself and swung his fist, shattering the window. He swiftly opened the driver's door and dragged the driver out. Chapter 1923. A surprising discovery. The other elders and hall masters all followed third elder's example and used the quickest speed and shortest amount of time to shatter the windows of the two trucks in front and assaulted the drivers. They were driving giant trucks. It wasn't a joke. If they allowed the driver to regain their wits, it wouldn't be so easy to stop a giant truck. Foolhardy punks. Elder Jean snorted and darted out of the first truck. Aside from Elder Jean, there were also two middle-aged men from the Martial Arts Union. You dare to stop a transport truck from the Martial Arts Union? One of the middle-aged men shouted coldly as he surveyed the situation. Who are you? Announce your names. Elder Jean questioned calmly. Following Elder Jin's words, Yuanwan languidly walked out from the darkness. When Elder Jean saw Yuanwan, his eyes narrowed. Elder Jean, long time no see. Yuanwan smiled faintly at the elderly man. Heh. Elder Jean looked at Yuanwan. I was wondering who it was. So it's President Bai Feng from the Fearless Alliance. This makes more sense since the Fearless Alliance robs people for a living. However, stealing from the Martial Arts Union. Aren't you a bit ignorant about the situation, President Bai? Fucking bullshit. Big Dipper pointed at Elder Jean and snorted. Aside from robbing, we also steal and scam. We have a bunch of gigs. You know nothing. Yuanwan. Would you die if you didn't talk? Don't waste your words with this old thing. Attack and capture him as fast as possible. Third elder ordered at once. The longer they dragged this out, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. The president said earlier that they had to apprehend Elder Jean instantly. Before Elder Jean could react, the 5 elders and the hall masters all surrounded Elder Jean, and the 2 middle-aged men from the Martial Arts Union. Elder Jean might have been formidable martially, but he was no match against a dozen or so people. Within 15 minutes, Elder Jean and the 2 men were defeated and bound tightly before being thrown inside the minivan. After successfully accomplishing their goal, Yuanwan, first elder, 7-star, and 2 hall masters departed first while the rest remained to clean up the scene. Not a single tidbit of evidence could be left behind. After Yuanwan and the others drove away in the minivan, third elder, Big Dipper, fourth elder, fifth elder, and the other hall masters rapidly cleaned up the scene. Big Dipper climbed into the big truck, and his eyes sparkled brightly when he saw the supplies brimming in the back. Damn. Come here quickly and look. Third elder was the quickest to arrive, and couldn't help but make a noise when he saw the truckload of supplies. There wasn't only a large quantity of gold, but there were also a lot of rare medicine. Something that couldn't be bought with money alone. Third elder, there's also a person in the truck. A hall master suddenly shouted. Oh, third elder and Big Dipper's attention were caught instantly. When they stopped in front of the third truck, third elder was astonished. There was a woman in her 40s who had her arms tied behind her back and a rope looped around her neck. Big Dipper was dumbfounded. Why are you here, Mom? What? Third elder looked more surprised. This is your mother, Big Dipper? Yeah, it's my mom. Big Dipper nodded frantically. Then why aren't you untying your mother already? Second elder asked. Chapter 1924. He must be taken a fancy to my mom. Right. Big Dipper hastily walked forward and freed the woman. Mom, what happened to you? Weren't you recovering in the hospital after being hit by a car? What's going on? Big Dipper looked flabbergasted. His mom was just a normal person, so why did the Martial Arts Union abduct his mom? Mom. Don't tell me. That old fart Jean took a fancy to you. Big Dipper's face was brimming with worry. The woman looked a bit weak right now. She glanced at Big Dipper but didn't say anything. Enough talking. Everything can wait until we get back. Third elder interjected. See if there's any tracking or location device on the car. If there are, dismantle them all and hide the trucks. Second elder commanded. Soon, the group hid the 3 trucks in an extremely covert spot before returning to the Fearless Alliance. Inside Yi Wanwan's office at the Fearless Alliance headquarters, Yi Wanwan had just taken a sip of water when Big Dipper helped his mother inside the office. Yi Wanwan was confused. What's going on? This is my mom's phone. Big Dipper explained quickly. Yi Wanwan was even more bewildered after Big Dipper's introduction. Why did Big Dipper bring his mom here? Hello, Auntie. Yi Wanwan greeted the woman with a smile. The woman nodded slightly in response. Sis phone, you have to give justice to my mom. She was abducted by that old fart gene and hidden in the truck. That damn old geezer must have taken a fancy to my mom. Big Dipper was enraged. That bastardly martial arts union poses as righteous people, but they actually conduct this kind of shady shit. I'll fuck them and 18 generations of their ancestors. Watch your mouth. The woman shot Big Dipper a look. Yi Wanwan. This is rather weird. Mom, this is my boss, the president of the Fearless Alliance. Big Dipper introduced her to his mom. And the woman nodded at Yi Wanwan. Thank you for taking care of Big Dipper all this time. As I should, Yi Wanwan replied. Then Yi Wanwan asked curiously, "Oh right, Auntie, why did the martial arts union capture you?" She could understand it if the martial arts union captured Big Dipper, but they captured Big Dipper's mother. Maybe there was some misunderstanding? I'm not sure myself, the woman answered weakly. A second later, from the corner of her eyes, the woman caught sight of the ring on Yi Wanwan's finger, and an indescribable shock surfaced in her eyes. Big Dipper, I have something to do, so take good care of Auntie. Yi Wanwan marched out of the office after leaving those instructions behind. When Yi Wanwan and her group came back, they imprisoned Elder Jean in one of the Fearless Alliance's secret bases instead of their headquarters. When Yi Wanwan arrived at the secret base with a few people in tow, she was met with the sight of Elder Jean and the 2 middle-aged men bound in iron chains. Go outside. Yi Wanwan ordered the hall masters. Yes. The hall masters immediately exited, leaving Yi Wanwan behind on her own. After they left, Yi Wanwan turned to the madly struggling Elder Jean with a grin. Elder Jean, I think it's time for a nice conversation between us. What the heck do you want by phone? I'm telling you, you're brazenly provoking the martial arts union like this. Do you really plan to become enemies with the martial arts union? Elder Jean shouted coldly at her. Chapter 1925. Could you be worryless, Nia? Yi Wanwan sat down on the sofa and chuckled. What's happening right now is unrelated to the martial arts union. I was looking for you, not the martial arts union. Looking for me? Elder Jean frowned deeply. Elder Jean, your dagger back then nearly killed me. Yi Wanwan nonchalantly said while staring at Elder Jean. Back then? Dagger? Elder Jean was more bewildered by her words. What in the world are you saying, President Bai? What back then? What dagger? I nearly killed you. Elder Jean was confused. Upon seeing Elder Jin's reaction, Yi Wanwan secretly cursed. Elder Jin's expression didn't look like it was faked. Perhaps this Elder Jean really didn't know Worryless Nia was the president of the Fearless Alliance back then. If that was it was completely useless undergoing so many trials and abducting Elder Jean here. Fine, since you don't know, I'll ask you a different question. Yi Wanwan looked at Elder Jean again. You should know Worryless Nia, right? Elder Jin's expression instantly changed. Yi Wanwan got her answer. It appeared Elder Jean really didn't know the fact that Worryless Nia was by phone. Many years ago, Worryless Nia was hunted down by your martial arts union and nearly died underneath your dagger. Don't tell me you forgot about this matter, Elder Jean. A frighteningly chilly glint appeared in Yi Wanwan's eyes. Elder Jean was startled and looked at her incredulously. Could it be you, your Worryless Nia? Earlier, this woman clearly said he nearly killed her with a dagger many years ago, but now, she changed the subject of her story to Worryless Nia. The corners of Yi Wanwan's lips turned up. You don't need to know who I am. Remember where you are. You just need to answer my question. President Bai, I think there might be some misunderstanding between us. I have no idea what you're saying, Elder Jean said, staring at Yuanwan intently. So you won't tell me? Yuanwan glanced at him. No worries. You won't tell me now, but you'll be begging me later. Yuanwan then turned and left the place. After Yuanwan exited, the hall masters entered and closed the door. The next morning, inside the Fearless Alliance, Big Dipper and the group of Fearless Alliance members looked like they were facing a great enemy. About 15 minutes ago, several managers and elders from the Martial Arts Union were dispatched to the Fearless Alliance. The leader wore a silver mask that concealed his face. The vice president of the Martial Arts Union, Third Elder, and the others were surprised at seeing the masked man. The owner of such a mask was the vice president of the Martial Arts Union. People said his face was burned and ruined from an accident many years ago, and he had been wearing a mask since. First Elder once saw the face behind the mask, and it was truly a face that unsettled people. Sir Vice President of the Martial Arts Union and several elders. What a formidable lineup! Yuanwan commented in good spirits upon her arrival as she surveyed the visitors. She had rushed there after learning of their arrival. When Yuanwan saw this masked man, the image of worryless Nya severely injured surfaced in her mind. This masked man was also present back then. Chapter 1926. It must be Azura. Yuanwan donned a confused expression. What are you saying, Sir Vice President? I'm a bit confused why you brought so many people here to the Fearless Alliance's headquarters. And you're asking me why? Shouldn't it be me asking you that question? President Bai, clever people don't speak hidden words. Hand over our people and supplies. The vice president of the Martial Arts Union said with a smile. What are you saying, Vice President? Yuanwan asked in astonishment. What people and supplies? Where are your words coming from? President Bai, our Martial Arts Union's transport trucks disappeared last night, and we lost some extremely valuable medicine, and a large number of gold bricks. The elder and 2 managers in charge of the transportation also went missing. The vice president said. What? That happened? Yuanwan hastily asked. Hurry and find them then. Why do you have the free time to come to our Fearless Alliance? President Bai, our supplies were most likely robbed, he replied while staring at Yuanwan. Seriously? That kind of thing happened? Yuanwan was taken aback. Who in the independent state has the guts to touch the supplies of the Martial Arts Union? They must be severely punished. That's right. Damn, which cocky fool could do something like that? I know. Big Dipper interjected. Oh, who is it? The masked man turned to Big Dipper. Is that even a question, Vice President? It must have been Azura. Big Dipper answered seriously. Aside from Azura, who in the independent state has the guts to steal something from the Martial Arts Union? That's right, it must have been Azura. Yuanwan shot Big Dipper a look. Can't you freaking shut that aggravating mouth of yours? I thought of them earlier, but we've eliminated Azura already. Moreover, Azura is open and brazen. They never act sneakily like this. I think that what happened rather fits your Fearless Alliance's style though. The masked man stared at Yuanwan. Hand over our people and supplies, President Bai. Vice President, you can eat things carelessly but you can't say things carelessly. You claim that the Fearless Alliance stole your people and supplies, but do you have proof? If you do, show us outright, Yuanwan said. Yuanwan looked nonchalant and unruffled on the surface, but was actually incredibly nervous inside. They didn't leave any evidence behind last night, right? It appears President Bai won't admit to it. The masked man glanced at Yuanwan. Fine. We've given you and the Fearless Alliance a chance, President Bai. You better pray I won't find out you're the culprit. After saying that, the masked man turned around and led his people away. Yuanwan finally relaxed when she saw the vice president leaving. After all this trouble, they didn't actually have any proof. She got scared thinking they left some fatal evidence behind last night. Big Dipper and the elders were also frightened. If the Martial Arts Union did learn it was the Fearless Alliance who did it, the consequences would be unthinkable. Thankfully, not many people knew about this, so there was no way the secret would get out. Moreover, they didn't leave behind any evidence, So the martial arts union absolutely wouldn't discover any proof no matter how omnipotent they were. After this incident though, Yuanwan became more cautious and didn't plan to visit the base Elder Jean was held in the near future, afraid that the martial arts union would track her. Chapter 1927 were clearly related to Azura by marriage. Yuanwan originally planned to start digging from Elder Jean, so that she didn't need to gather honor points so strenuously, but unfortunately, she gained nothing from this excursion. Moreover, the reason behind the abduction of Big Dipper's mother for no reason was also hazy. She didn't feel like it was a coincidence. Oh well, it appeared she could only go and gnaw on the hardest bone now. Yuanwan called Big Dipper and 7 Star to her office. Big Dipper, have you delivered the message I asked you to deliver? What did they say? Yuanwan asked. Sisfeng, is that even a question? Of course they won't, they sell it. Big Dipper grumbled. What was their response? I want the original words. How could they respond? I didn't see the person at all. Yuanwan propped her chin on her hand, her head aching. It appeared that the guy was still heated with rage. However, was he the only angry one? She was angry still too. She had forced him to this degree already, but he still stubbornly kept his alias and refused to shed it. So what if he shed it? There's only one method left then. As Yuanwan said that, she took a black lockbox from her pocket and threw it at Big Dipper. Take a few people and help me escort this lockbox to the 14th district. What? Escort it to the 14th district? Doesn't that mean I have to pass through the 13th district? When Big Dipper heard this, he knelt down with a plop at once. I was wrong, Sisfeng. I'll definitely be good from now on, and won't ever do it again? If I die, who else can be your considerate apple of the eye? What nonsense are you saying? Who wants you to die? You want me to travel through the 13th district. What's the difference between that and asking for my life? Is the 13th district that scary? Yuanwan raised her brows. Big Dipper tightly hugged Yuanwan's leg and hobbled his head frantically. It's more than that. Azura has controlled the 13th district for more than a century, and no one has ever managed to trespass without permission. As Azura's enemy faction, how could it be possible for us to pass through Azura's core stronghold so openly? Yuanwan pursed her lips, dissatisfied with Big Dipper's wording. Who are you calling enemy faction? We're clearly related to Azura by marriage. Pondering over his president's suicidal move, Big Dipper shakily wiped his sweat. You don't think we're enemies enough? Yuanwan supported her chin, her finger lightly tapping on her cheek as she gently comforted him. Don't worry. I guarantee you'll safely pass through the 13th district, finish your escort mission, and return Comp W. Big Dipper looked like he was facing a giant liar. Sisfeng, I'm not a child anymore. Big Dipper recalled his young and clueless days when he believed everything Sisfeng said, and ended up being tricked until he cried for his parents. He still had lingering fears. Sisfeng, this is too risky, 7 Star chipped in with his opinion too. When have I ever done anything irresponsible? 7 Star. Isn't that all the time? 7 Star resisted the urge to expose her. It was a test of sorts to send Big Dipper to escort the token. She wanted to probe a certain person's attitude. She didn't have to wait long. The next afternoon, 7 Star pushed open her office's door in a rush and dashed inside. Sisfeng, something happened. 7 Star yelled. What is it? This was Yuanwan's first time seeing such a serious expression on 7 Star's face. Did something happen to Big Dipper? He's fine, that's good. Yuanwan relaxed. However, the token. What about the token? The token got stolen by Azura's members. Chapter 1928. Personally go there to strip him. What did you say? Yuanwan jumped up from her seat at once. No wonder that punk, Big Dipper, didn't dare to come here to report to her himself. Their fearless alliance's belongings actually got stolen by someone. The head of bandits got robbed. If news of this got out, they'd become the laughingstock of the entire independent state. She was almost 100% certain Lord Azura was Si Yihan, so she was confident in the mission this time. The worst outcome she imagined would be Big Dipper being unable to pass and sent home. Never would she have expected Lord Azura to confiscate her item. Damn it! This item escorting mission had been issued for a long time, but no one dared to accept it this whole time because it was too difficult. Additionally, the rules stated that the person who lost the token would get 15,000 honor points deducted. Didn't that mean she would return to the dark times? Yi Wanwan clutched her chest, which was aching from her fury. So infuriating. Where did that bastard get the nerve to deceive her, saying they were married already? Was this something a real husband would do? Even if she lied to him first and didn't remain in China, there was no need for him to abuse her like this, right? I'll go there personally. Yi Wanwan shot up again. No. You absolutely can't. It's too dangerous. 7-star hastily blocked Yi Wanwan's path. Move over. Yi Wanwan originally planned to continue playing with a certain someone, but he kept hindering her again and again, and messing up her plans in his ignorance. She had lost every strand of her patience. She had to personally go there and strip a certain person. Sisfeng. It wasn't until Yi Wanwan left that Big Dipper cautiously peeked his head out. It's over. Old 7, what should we do? Didn't I tell you to protect the token well no matter what? 7-star admonished him unhappily. Of course I know that. I absolutely wouldn't allow someone to steal something belonging to the Fearless Alliance from my hands, even if I lost my life. So what happened then? 7-star asked. To 7-star, Big Dipper was perfectly intact but lost the token, so clearly, it was because he didn't safeguard the token with everything he had. I don't know either. They only stole the item then released us. They didn't even touch a hair on us. Do you think Azura is a charity organization? 7-star obviously didn't believe a single word. But that's the truth. Enough nonsense. Call all the elders here and summon all the hall masters. This time, a war between the Fearless Alliance and Azura would really start. At Azura's headquarters. Lin Ke fretted with worry as he stared at the black velvet ring box and black lockbox on Lord Azura's desk. Those two really got into a pickle this time. However, it really wasn't Ninth Brother's fault. He managed to restrain himself already. But then the Fearless Alliance just had to send someone here to ask for Emperor Ji's ring, and said they could ask for any terms they wanted. And so, this person was completely pissed off. Behind the expansive desk, the man silently sat there, resembling the devil, Rakshasa, who climbed out from the deepest part of hell. One of his hands was pressing his temples hard, and his face was frighteningly pale. Lin Ke was exasperated. Your head's hurting again? His ninth brother's body had recovered not too long ago, and he started working himself to death as soon as he came to the independent state. Moreover, his emotions these past few days were extremely unstable, so of course he was suffering again. Do I need to call a doctor here to take a look? However, Lin Ke himself knew that this was a psychological illness that needed to be cured by a psychological medicine, so calling a doctor was useless. Leave. The man waved his hand. Chapter 1929. Are you trying to murder your wife? Lin Ke wanted to offer a few words of advice, but unfortunately couldn't withstand a certain person's low-pressure aura. So he quickly fled outside to hide. As soon as Lin Ke left, a black shadow quietly approached the building. Currently, Yi Wanwan's face was covered in dirt, and dust and leaves were all over her. She cut a rather sorry figure. Blah, blah. Damn it. Yi Wanwan spat out the grass and leaves from her mouth. Azura's security was truly too strict. Even if she navigated the route clearly last time she was there, it was still very difficult for her to sneak inside single-handedly. Hence, she had no choice but to employ some special methods. Since when did she fall into such a degenerate state? In order to see her man, she couldn't enter through the main entrance and had to crawl through a dog hole. Yi Wanwan's flame blazed inside of her furiously as she used a pocket knife to crack open the window. Squeak. Behind the desk, the man's eyes sharpened upon hearing the noise, and a gold fountain pen flew out from his hand, shooting toward the person at the window. Since his emotions were too chaotic, he actually didn't detect anyone sneaking inside. Shit. Are you trying to murder your wife? Yi Wanwan quickly dodged while reaching out to catch the fountain pen. This fountain pen is flashily gold. It must be worth a lot. Yi Wanwan wiped the pen before stuffing it into her pocket. When the man saw the newcomer clearly, apparent shock popped up on his face. But his expression instantly darkened again when he realized her objective for coming. What kind of place do you think Azura is president by? My home, of course. Yi Wanwan blurted out. Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan had zero patience by this point, so she slapped the dust off herself and directly asked, I'll be frank and won't waste my words. Tell me, just what will make you willing to give the ring to me? As he expected, the last trace of hope in his eyes dissipated into boundless chilliness. Beg me. His gaze was so frosty that it froze all of the blood inside her. I'm begging you, Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan didn't care about something like begging him at all. If he was willing to give the ring to her if she said a few words, she'd be the one winning in the end, all right? Moreover, begging her man a little was no biggie. Please, I'm begging you. It's not like you have any use holding on to it anyway, right? Yi Wanwan added. The man clearly didn't expect this outcome, and his face darkened completely. At the end of his patience, he rubbed his forehead. Get out. I won't. Unless you give it to me, I won't leave. What if I make you trade the Fearless Alliance for it? Yi Wanwan. Haha. A mere ring, and he wanted her to use the entire Fearless Alliance to trade for it? All right. Sure. I can. Not a problem. Yi Wanwan nodded briskly. Yi Wanwan thought. Everything that's yours is mine, and everything that's mine is also yours anyway. Lord Azura. The man in front of Yi Wanwan was akin to the eye of a tornado, causing her to involuntarily shiver. After taking a deep breath, he used his last strand of self-control to utter. Get out now. Before I change my mind. Damn. He's kicking me out again. She intentionally didn't explain why she wanted that ring because she wanted to force him to admit his identity. Who knew he would still conceal himself so solidly at this point? Is there a point in performing the Emperor's new clothes? It's the same as being completely naked in my eyes, alright? Chapter 1930. Want to fight over a man with me? Then excuse me for this offense. A swish pierced the air, and Yi Wanwan leaped toward the ring on the desk as fast as lightning. The second before she touched the ring, the man swung his arm and blocked her attack, keeping her from the ring. Yi Wanwan furiously glared at him and attacked immediately. Within moments, the duo had exchanged dozens of blows. The man's attacks weren't ferocious at all. They could even be considered nonchalant, but they securely blocked her attacks so much so that she couldn't even touch the ring for a millisecond. My esteemed Lord Azura, if I may ask, why the hell are you forcefully withholding another man's closely worn ring and unwilling to give it up? Yi Wanwan shouted, affronted. Was it that difficult for him to admit he was Si Yihan and he was jealous? And why are you doing this? The man retorted instead, staring at her. Yi Wanwan laughed, inflamed. What do you think? My esteemed Lord Azura is so smart, so you should know my intentions. When a woman wants to obtain a man's personal item using all the methods she can, something like a ring even. The man didn't seem to want to continue listening and directly interrupted her. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, President Bai. Yi Wanwan languidly smiled. It appears your esteemed self is hellbent on fighting over a man with me, Lord Azura? Fighting over a man with her. Across from her, Lord Azura's breathing evidently halted. Anyone less sturdy and they would have probably passed out from rage, because of Yi Wanwan by now. Yi Wanwan continued, apologies, but I said this ring is mine, so it'll definitely be mine. Something fiercely sank in the man's eyes, falling until it was sucked into a bottomless abyss without a ray of light. Yi Wanwan took advantage of the man's inattention and struck. A second later, the man seemed to have lost his hold on the box, and it slid down from his palm. Yi Wanwan naturally wouldn't bypass this opportunity and caught the ring box. However, before happiness could fill her body, she saw the man's face losing all traces of color. His slender fingers hardly pressed against his forehead, as though he was enduring some immense agony. Yi Wanwan immediately forgot about the ring, and hastily shot forward to catch the shakily standing man. Hey you! Lord Azura's back stiffened, and he shoved her away before staggeringly falling back on the chair behind him. His entire body emanated iciness as he uttered, "Get out, damn. He's kicking me out again." Yi Wanwan suppressed her rage and anxiously pressed, "Where do you feel ill?" "None of your business." The man's voice didn't bear a sliver of warmth. "You fine, I'll leave." Yi Wanwan was beside herself in rage and promptly turned around to leave. As Lord Azura watched the girl's furious silhouette, he defeatedly sat on the sofa without a trace of life around him, as though he was an island abandoned by the entire world. Yi Wanwan shoved open the door with a loud bang and marched outside. "Fine. I'll leave. Fine. What's the big deal with you? I've freaking had enough of that damn prideful personality. I've had enough. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps." She couldn't even make it to the 5th step. When she took her 5th step, her legs had a mind of their own, and suddenly turned around to walk back to his room. Chapter 1931 Ding. Pacifying one is online. By the time Yi Wanwan regained her wits, she was back at the door again. She dumbfoundedly stared at the door in front of her and her legs. "Damn. Legs, what are you doing? Why did you come back here yourself? Can't you have a little more pride? Seriously. You're killing me." Slash bang. Slash the door was slammed open, and the man's eyes shot up stunned. Yi Wanwan angrily and murderously stomped back inside. "Damn it, what kind of spell did you cast on me?" Then she aggressively reached out, and placed her hands on the man's temples, and started massaging them. The girl wore a fiendish expression on her face, and her voice had an extremely brutish tone, but her hands massaging him were peculiarly gentle. Desolation and defeat still lingered on the man's face as he dazedly stared at the girl who left and came back. The warmth and gentleness on his forehead slowly absorbed the pain and chill drowning him. "Do you feel better?" Yi Wanwan hostilely asked with a mean expression on her face, as she kept rubbing his temples. "Does it still hurt?" The man lightly panted and didn't say anything, but he also didn't push the girl away at all, allowing her to touch him however she wanted. Yi Wanwan peered down at him, and saw that his shirt was buttoned to his collar, the first button tightly fastened, and a tie knotted around his neck. Her brows furrowed deeply. Just looking at this made her unable to breathe. Yi Wanwan directly reached out, and pulled off his tie before loosening the button on his collar. The man's gaze drifted down to her hand, but he allowed her actions without any movements to stop her. Yi Wanwan unbuttoned all the buttons of his white dress shirt and asked, "Does this feel better?" When Yi Wanwan met the man's gaze, she hastily explained, "Let me clarify, okay? I'm just performing first aid to help you breathe more easily. I'm not trying to do anything else. I wouldn't take advantage of someone in their weakened state like this." As Yi Wanwan said that, her gaze landed on the man's half-exposed chest. She originally really didn't plan to take advantage of his vulnerable state, but now, well, her thoughts were turning a bit dangerous. Calm down, calm down. She intended to force him to admit it himself initially, but it turned out to be her who relented first in the end. Yi Wanwan was forced to compromise and said, "I don't believe you have no clue I have a special use for that ring with your intelligence. Even if your brain went offline, then use your face and your beauty to think about it." Lord Azura. Looking at the man's face, Yi Wanwan's tone softened some. "Also, why did I beg you so easily when you asked? It's because you're my man, so what if I beg you a little? I wouldn't lose anything by begging you." "You're my man." When the girl said that, the man's eyes abruptly contracted a few degrees. Yi Wanwan saw his face improving, so she continued to put in more effort. "As for you making me trade the Fearless Alliance for the ring, please, don't you have any idea why I agreed to it? With our relationship, isn't what's mine yours? The Fearless Alliance was yours to begin with, so what's there to trade? Am I right?" She still found out. Immense helplessness rushed up from the bottom of Si Yihan's eyes. He should be anxious and unsettled, but a shameful gladness flooded into his heart as he listened to her soft voice by his ears, and watched the worry and concern on her face. It was like a hand dragged him from the boundless and forsaken darkness back into the vivacious world. Yi Wanwan kept massaging his forehead. "Hihi, have you finally stopped being angry? Seriously, it's too much. How are you so good looking even when you're angry?" Chapter 1932. How could I not recognize my own man? Si Yihan was unable to describe his current emotions. He felt like he was reborn after a great catastrophe. An unknown amount of time passed before he finally recovered his ability to produce speech. He pressed down on the hands that kept massaging him as he hoarsely asked, "How did you find out?" Yi Wanwan glanced at his hands over the back of her hands and raised her eyebrows. You wouldn't even let me touch you earlier, but now, you're touching my hand of your own volition?" Si Yihan's fingers paused but didn't move away. His hand slowly curled around her fingers, grasping her hand. "Don't change the topic." Ahem. Fine, to no one's surprise, a certain someone's intelligence only goes offline temporarily. How should she tell him how she discovered it? She was certain he was lying because she learned that she had a second identity as Worryless Nya. And Si Yihan's story obviously didn't match up with that fact. That nonsense about how they couldn't be together because she wasn't a citizen of the independent state, or else they would be hunted down by the ancient Sea clan. That was utterly impossible. Regardless of which identity she was using, it didn't change the fact that she was a resident of the independent saint. There could only be one reason Si Yihan said that: to make her leave the independent state. That was why he was so furious when he learned she returned to the independent state. Si Yihan watched her bite her lips and struggle for something to say for half a day, and he gently kneaded her fingers. "Have you thought of an excuse yet?" "I haven't, ahem blah. What I mean is I haven't figured out how to tell you yet." No matter what, she absolutely couldn't tell Si Yihan she was Worryless Nya, or else she would be screwed. Who in the independent state didn't know Worryless Nya had an engagement with Ji Xiran? Who didn't know Worryless Nya had an illegitimate son? She merely bid for a ring belonging to Ji Xiran, and Si Yihan nearly drowned her with a sea of vinegar. If he learned she had a son. However, speaking of her precious son, she was growing more certain about the identity of Tongtong's biological father. She just needed some final proof. Yi Wanwan pursed her lips and said, "Where did you get the nerve to ask? Do you think your acting skills are flawless? Have you forgotten about my job in China? Showing off your acting skills in front of me is like teaching your grandmother how to suck eggs. Since the first time you appeared in front of me as Lord Azura, I saw through your identity with a single look. I merely wanted to force you to admit it yourself." There was nothing wrong with Yi Wanwan's explanation, but Si Yihan knew that she was hiding something from him still. Enough about that. This actually feels pretty nice. It's like I have two boyfriends." Si Yihan didn't continue pursuing the matter, sensing that Yi Wanwan didn't want to tell him. He silently glanced at her and asked, "You want to have two boyfriends a lot?" Yi Wanwan sharply detected danger, and her survival instincts went online in a flash. "No way. Don't sneakily change my meaning, alright? What I'm saying is, how could I not recognize my own man? I'd recognize you no matter what appearance you took on." Two of him. Pacifying one of him requires me to use every trick and skill I have in my hat already. As Yi Wanwan continued with her placating, she covertly glanced at him. His expression finally stopped looking so frightening. She finally managed to nurture him back to good health with Herculean efforts. So how did he turn around and get himself into this state again? Yi Wanwan was furious, but thinking more on it. I'm the one who angered him to this extent? It isn't my fault though. It was clearly nothing, but he just had to have the capability of producing vinegar on his own, and in such terrifying quantities. Chapter 1933. What's your relationship with Ji Xiran? Yi Wanwan figured that she probably successfully got away with it since Si Yihan didn't keep pressing. However, as soon as she relaxed, she heard Si Yihan ask, "What's your relationship with Ji Xiran?" Yi Wanwan stiffened instantly and entered first-class defense mode. Did he discover something? Wait, shit. Are you for real? It's clearly me who should be the one launching accusations, right? So why did the situation turn 180 degrees and turn into me becoming the one being grilled? What was more sinful was that this question truly stirred some guilt in her. The abnormality that flickered through Yi Wanwan's eyes naturally didn't escape Si Yihan's attention. His hands around her fingers subconsciously clenched. In reality, he knew all along that she had someone she liked. That person held an irreplaceable position in her heart. And he was merely a fling that she had in her boredom to pass the time. He knew all of this clearly. But when someone finally saw the light after dwelling in the dark his whole life, he would be unwilling to release it. He always knew she had a person like that in her heart. He just didn't know who it was, nor did he want to find out. Until Ji Shiran suddenly appeared by her side, and an unease that Si Yihan had never felt before subconsciously grabbed him, and caused him to lose control of his emotions again and again. Yi Wanwan's hand started hurting from his grasp. Detecting Si Yihan's rippling emotions, Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows and wanted to say something, but ear-shattering sirens started piercing the air outside the window. This type of alarm only rang when Azura was suffering an extremely serious attack. What sound is that? Yi Wanwan jolted in fright by this noise. The darkness on Si Yihan's face only appeared for a flash, and his expression returned to normal like it never changed. He responded, "Azura is under attack." Yi Wanwan was astonished. Huh? Who's gutsy enough to dare to invade Azura's headquarters? The man glanced at her. Who do you think? Yi Wanwan blinked, and blinked again. It can't be my fearless alliance, right? As soon as Yi Wanwan said that, a familiar voice shouted outside arrogantly. Every person inside fucking listen. You've been surrounded. Nicely hand over our boss or don't blame the fearless alliance for bulldozing your Azura. Yi Wanwan. What's going on? Yi Wanwan sprinted to the window to examine the situation outside. A look revealed the matter to be more serious than she expected. The fearless alliance came out in nearly full force and all the experts were present, painting a sea of black in the night. Azura's side was also fully armed. The two sides stood facing each other in a standoff, and the atmosphere could be ignited with a touch. Yi Wanwan felt her head pounding when she saw this. Shit. Since Azura's defense was stricter than last time, she wasted too much time breaking in, so the sky had turned dark already. Big Dipper and Seven Star probably thought she fell into Azura's hands after seeing her gone for so long, so they declared war on Azura in their urgency. What Yi Wanwan didn't know was that the commotion was worse than she thought. Azura's siren had alarmed the entire independent state already, and many factions and powerful figures had sent their informants to scout for information. The end result frightened them. The Fearless Alliance had started a war with Azura. The leaders of several factions gathered together to discuss this, quaking with fear. Really? The Fearless Alliance and Azura started fighting? It's absolutely true. The Fearless Alliance's whole nest came out and launched an attack on Azura's headquarters. They'll probably rip each other's heads off this time. TSK, the Fearless Alliance, they are rather ballsy, right? When Azura was attacked back then, the Fearless Alliance charged at the forefront, so the feud between the two factions was established long ago. Chapter 1934. Were villains colluding together? When Yi Wanwan saw Si Yihan standing up as though he wanted to go out, she quickly drew the curtains and dashed over. Sit down. Sit back and rest. It's fine outside. They won't start fighting this fast, so don't worry. The flames of war raged and gunpowder pervaded the air outside. But inside the house, a certain president was eagerly helping someone back to the sofa and attentively worrying about his health. There's probably someone stirring the pot, Si Yihan said. You mean? Yi Wanwan pondered it and realized the merit in his words. The Fearless Alliance probably got some erroneous information this time, and thought something happened to her. Otherwise, they wouldn't rashly turn out in full force like this. It appears someone wants to drive a wedge between us and reap the spoils. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and revealed a gloating expression as she grinned and said, Unfortunately, they don't know we're actually villains colluding together. Si Yihan. Villains colluding together. He didn't want to comment on his wife's usage of idioms. Yi Wanwan's eyes shifted as she rushed to talk business. Oh right, hee. There's one more really important matter. I already explained to you just now that I have a special use for that ring and absolutely don't intend to do anything else with it. You know how I'm going to school at Scarlet Flames Academy right now, right? There's an S-rank mission on the mission board that is asking for Emperor Ji's personal ring, and it's super valuable. It's worth 15,000 honor points. As Yi Wanwan said that, her eyes sparkled and she revealed a money-grubber look. Upon seeing her excited and sparkling gaze when she talked about that ring, Si Yihan's gaze sank. He recalled the cufflinks that Yi Wanwan bid on for $1. Is that so? That ring is worth a lot? Yi Wanwan didn't dare to provoke him with the mention of Emperor Ji's ring anymore, and hastily added, "You're worth a lot too. You're really worth a lot. A single strand of hair from you is worth 15,000 honor points. To tell you the truth, your hair is also part of an S-rank mission, which I accepted as well, so say." Yi Wanwan leaned close and looked at him expectantly. The man glanced at her. He was silent for a moment before exasperation flitted through his eyes. "Pluck it yourself." Yi Wanwan nearly jumped up in her excitement. "Ah, really? Really? You'll let me pluck it? However I want." Happiness came too suddenly. Yi Wanwan stared at his head of silver hair like an evil dragon who saw a cave of treasures. Honor points. They were all honor points. It would be great if this mission could be accepted limitlessly. Yi Wanwan regrettably murmured. Si Yihan, accepted limitlessly? Does she want to make me bald? As Yi Wanwan said that, she ardently pounced onto the man and happily started picking through his hair. Which strand should I take? This strand? This strand? Or that strand? Si Yihan's spine stiffened as he felt her seemingly boneless hand rifling through his hair and lightly touching his scalp and his neck. When the girl didn't pick one after searching for half a day, he had no choice but to pluck one himself and helped her sit up before handing the plucked strand of hair to her. "All right. Why did you do it yourself? Anyway, this strand is a bit short and too fine. I want a longer, better-looking strand. The kind that's neither thick or fine. I'll throw it away if you don't want it." Si Yihan gestured like he would drop it. I want it. Don't drop it." Yi Wanwan quickly snatched the strand of hair, like it was a piece of precious treasure. Then she thought of something and her eyes shifted before she fawningly asked, "Can I have one more strand?" Chapter 1935. But the bosses are head-deep in their romance when Yi Wanwan caught Si Yihan's questioning gaze. She quickly explained, "What if another mission is issued? I'm just preparing ahead of time. If there isn't, I can keep it as a memento so that I can look at it when I miss you." In the end, Yi Wanwan successfully got her hands on 2 strands of hair. Si Yihan's unfathomable eyes carried a hint of coolness as he asked, "Why do you want so many honor points?" Yi Wanwan subconsciously tightened her hold on the hair that she finally obtained. She absolutely couldn't allow Si Yihan to find out she was earning honor points, so that the headmaster could help her recover her memory. There's no royal road to learning. Since I'm a student, I should study hard and aspire to improve every day. I'm just the lowest-ranked mercenary right now. How much shame would I bring to you if we told other people in the future?" Yi Wanwan bootlicked him without any spared efforts. Si Yihan's eyes turned grim. Although he knew she was intentionally hiding something from him, boundless satisfaction still rushed into his heart as he watched the girl carefully wrap a handkerchief around his strands of hair and store them safely in her inner pocket like a treasure. He felt like the enormous hole in his chest was being slowly filled up. He could give her anything she wanted. Si Yihan closed his eyes and temporarily suppressed every tinge of unease before extending his arms and tightly embracing the girl. Yi Wanwan blinked. What is it? Why are you so passionate all of a sudden?" Crash. An enormous noise was suddenly heard outside the window, as though something heavy had toppled. Yi Wanwan peeked through the opening between the curtains. 7-Star and Jiang Yen had started sighting, and one of the Roman columns in Azura's garden had collapsed. At the same time, a loud bang resounded as the study door was slammed open. Ninth brother. Not good. They're fighting outside and those lunatics from the Fearless Alliance are simply, Lin K broke off when he saw his 9th brother leaning back on the sofa with a woman in his arms. Yi Wanwan burrowed out from Si Yihan's embrace and peeked out behind Si Yihan's shoulder. She waved her little hand and greeted the person standing at the door. "Hey! Shit!" Lin K exclaimed. "What the heck am I seeing?" Lin K nearly fell on his ass from fright and stared at Yi Wanwan like she was a ghost. Why are you here? Why can't I be here? Yi Wanwan grunted and probingly inspected the man in front of her. She heard this person call Si Yihan ninth brother just now. Not many people address Si Yihan like that. Was this person under disguise? Yi Wanwan bored into that ordinary and common face and guessed. You're Lin K. Damn. I got recognized. Lin K nearly peed in his pants and turned to Si Yihan, badly shaken. Si Yihan didn't look too happy from being disturbed. He gently caressed Yi Wanwan's hair as he answered her. Yes, it's him. Lin K was even more horrified when he heard ninth brother frankly admit it. Ninth brother, you've dropped your alias? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. I stripped it. Do you have something to say? No. I absolutely don't. Lin K frantically shook his head. He felt like he was a gigantic third wheel as he watched these two sickeningly lovey-dovey people in front of him. Tears streamed down his face inwardly. Damn. I never would have expected it. They had turned the world upside down fighting outside, and the entire independent state was disturbed. But what was happening? The bosses of the two fighting sides were head deep in their romance, and acting all mushy inside the study. Was there still justice in the world? Chapter 1936. The owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. Currently, the buttons of his ninth brother's dress shirt were all loosened, his hair was tousled, and he was hugging Yi Wanwan just a second ago. When Lin K realized what he had interrupted, he felt like his death was hanging over him. Ahem, ninth brother, I originally didn't want to disturb you, but the commotion outside is somewhat big, Lin K explained while shuddering. No wonder ninth brother was so silent despite the giant disturbance outside. It turned out this girl was here. Ninth brother probably wouldn't care even if the sky fell outside. I wanted to stay with you longer. Yi Wanwan lamented with a pout before accepting her fate, and reluctantly standing up. I'll leave now. Si Yihan's gaze darkened slightly. Be careful. He couldn't keep her away from the independent state at this point, so he would just have to take it one step at a time now. Yes, I know. Si Yihan was probably worried someone would harm her, so he wanted her to leave the independent state and remain in China. But if someone really wanted to do anything to her, it didn't matter where she was. The several attempted assassinations in China proved that. In the independent state, at least she was the president of the Fearless Alliance, so her assassinators had to be more cautious. In the independent state, she still had many things to do and there were people she had to protect. Regardless of the reason she begged to forget those memories initially, it was time to face them after evading them for so long. She couldn't allow Si Yihan to endure everything on his own. That's right, baby. Give me your phone number in the independent state. TSK, I gave you my number last time, but you didn't even call me once. Yi Wanwan complained. Si Yihan looked at her calmly. Did you know who I was at that time? Alarms instantly blared in Yi Wanwan's mind. This was a fatal question. If she said she wasn't certain he was Si Yihan back then, wasn't that the same as hitting on another man? Yi Wanwan had no doubt this man would get jealous of his own self. She decisively answered. Of course I knew. I told you I was instantly certain it was you, alright? Si Yihan's gaze turned gentle, and he didn't expose her. He listed off a string of numbers before saying, This is my private number. Yi Wanwan didn't bring her phone in her haste, so she memorized it. Okay. Be careful about how you enter in my name. We can't allow anyone to discover our relationship, Si Yihan instructed her worriedly. I understand. Don't worry. I'll give you a nickname that absolutely no one can guess. Yi Wanwan guaranteed. She already thought of a nickname already. She was going to set his number as the owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory. It was perfect. Excuse me, have you two finished chatting? Lin K urged miserably. All right. What's the hurry? Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes grumpily before walking out. Swish, swish, swish. By Azura's main entrance, 7-Star and Jiang Yan were currently locked in battle with no clear winner, and the fight was turning more and more heated. Damn, old 7. Stop fighting. How much longer will you fight? Everyone charge inside. 7-Star's expression couldn't be any darker. The impact of Azura officially entering a war with the Fearless Alliance was too immense. How many people outside were waiting for them to start fighting? The best option would be to resolve this peacefully, but the longer they delayed it, the more danger Sisfong would be in. That's right. Who the fuck's scared of him? Charge inside. Damn. Hall Master Lu, don't hide behind me if you're so strong. Stand in front of me and say that again. Shit, fine, I will. I'll go all out for the president. Chapter 1937. Just came here to get some sleep. The higher-ups of the Fearless Alliance were divided into a pro-battle and a pro-peace faction. But the pro-battle faction was currently in the majority. After all, their president was abducted, so if they took that lying down, then the Fearless Alliance wouldn't need to keep its pride in the independent state. Hence, this battle was unavoidable. How dare a bunch of upstarts like you come to Azura and act so atrociously? Since that woman had the guts to trespass on Azura's territory, then she should be prepared to pay the price. Jiang Yan was already at the end of his patience toward the Fearless Alliance, so his fury finally exploded. That woman wasn't in Azura to begin with. He tried to use peaceful means before resorting to violence and explained it to them. But these people didn't believe it no matter what and doggedly clung to their beliefs that Azura was holding Bai Feng hostage, pestering Azura endlessly. They were probably here with the intention of causing trouble. Shit, what did this damn punk say? He actually called us upstarts. Blah. Then what do you call the people who pissed their pants in terror when they were attacked by this group of upstarts? Huh? Bastards. I don't think a winner was decided back then. Plus, our Fearless Alliance was just the vanguard, not the main force. Damn, which side are you on? Why are you telling the blunt truth? Anyway, didn't Azura disappear off the grid? They must have been scared from the attack. Because of Jiang Yan's attitude, the remaining pro-peace faction become turncoats. Enough bullshit. Charge. Emotions ran high and the people from the two sides started to lose control. At that moment, when the fight was a second from breaking out, a slender black figure languidly walked out from Azura's inner court, her sandals flapping on the ground. What's happening? Why are you so noisy in the middle of the night? When a female voice rang out from the darkness on Azura's side, everyone froze in their spots like a pause button was pressed. After half a day, people gradually shook off their shock. The members of Azura stiffly turned their necks to look behind them. Shit. What did we just hear? Why does it sound like we heard Bai Feng's voice coming from behind us? That's Bro Flat Top? It's really Bro Flat Top. Why's she at our base? At the same time, the members of the Fearless Alliance also looked ahead in disbelief. Damn. President. Sisfong? Am I seeing things? Are you okay, Sisfong? Why did Bai Feng come from Azura's rear courtyard? And why did she walk out of there swaggeringly like she was traipsing through her own garden? It was as though she had just taken a short walk through Azura. When the crowd saw this scene, the people from the Fearless Alliance weren't the only ones dumbfounded. Azura's guards were as well. The righteously indignant crowd screaming for murder just a moment ago, now subconsciously retreated to the side with obvious trepidation from fright. Yi Wanwan leisurely walked in between the two rivers of Azura guards and lazily yawned before complaining. TSK, what a disturbance to my sweet dreams. Ha! Disturbance to her sweet dreams? Big Dipper was incredibly excited by the sight of Yi Wanwan. Sisfong, weren't you abducted by the despicable Azura and cruelly interrogated, so your life was hanging on by a thread? Hanging on by a thread your ass. Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. Also, where do you get the gall to call them despicable? Sisfong, what the heck is going on? We received an anonymous letter that said you fell into Azura's hands. Yi Wanwan pursed her lips and said, This place has nice feng shui, so I just came here to get some sleep. Don't be so worried. Chapter 1938. Anyway, I have a strong supporter. The members of the Fearless Alliance who came self-righteous chests were flabbergasted. Before anyone from the Fearless Alliance could speak, Jiang Yan's rage hit the ceiling. What? Sleep. Vixen, you're simply unscrupulous and impudent. Yi Wanwan raised her eyebrows, exasperated. This guy's vocabulary was pitifully small indeed. His lines never changed. Yi Wanwan was addicted to angering Jiang Yan, so she provokingly said, That's right. I didn't just come here for some sleep. I want to sleep with your Lord Azura. What about it? Unfortunately, her darling told her she couldn't let people know they were villains colluding together, so she had to hold back and refrain from saying it. Jiang Yan, Big Dipper. 7-star. All the elders, hall masters, and elites. The entire area went abnormally silent for a long time. It was finally broken by a certain hall master, Luo Linna. So we furiously came running here to save the day only to find out our president came here to randomly find a place to sleep? Sisphone came here to secretly bang someone? Everyone. Jiang Yan was truly about to go mad from his rage this time. Vixen. You're audacious. Unsurprisingly, it was the same line. I absolutely won't allow you to leave today. Jiang Yan shrugged off 7-star and charged toward Yi Wanwan as fast as lightning. Yi Wanwan stood in her spot unmoving, a faint smile on her face with not even the tiniest frown. Yes, I have a strong supporter anyway. As expected. The second before Jiang Yan's thunderous strike landed on Yi Wanwan, a slender hand appeared soundlessly and neutralized his attack. When Jiang Yan saw the newcomer, his eyes shot open. My lord. A terrified expression surfaced on every Azura member's face, and they reverently bowed at Lord Azura immediately. My lord. Lord Azura kept his hand blocking Jiang Yan as he ordered, Retreat, Jiang Yan. Jiang Yan was bewildered. But my lord. Yi Wanwan securely hid behind a certain someone and peeked out with a grin. She aggravatingly taunted, Hee, come here. Hit me. Jiang Yan was so mad he nearly spat out blood. Vixen. You. An imperceptible exasperation and gentleness flickered through Si Yihan's eyes. He sent her a warning glance from the corners of his eyes, reminding her not to overdo it. President bye. Yi Wanwan pouted and finally stopped provoking Jiang Yan. Fine. On your lord's behalf, I'll let you off alive. Jiang Yan. I might become the first guard to die from rage in Azura. Wow, so handsome. Isn't Lord Azura too handsome? He's even more handsome than when we last saw him. If I could charm a man like this, I'd die without regrets in this life. Luo Linna, the hegemon flower hall master of the Fearless Alliance, murmured at this moment as she stared at Lord Azura, starry-eyed and unable to look away. Yi Wanwan sharply caught her words from the crowd and narrowed her eyes, her gaze shooting toward Luo Linna like flamethrowers. Hey, rein yourself in. Have you forgotten the lesson at the club last time? A hall master quietly reminded her with his head lowered. Luo Linna caught her president's warning glance and shuddered. Memories rushed into her mind, and she didn't dare to take another glance. Si Yihan naturally detected his girl's series of actions, and the gentleness in his eyes was about to overflow. Lin Ke, who had followed behind them, clapped Jiang Yan on the shoulder with a sigh. Ah, little red, relax. Today's events were just a misunderstanding. Jiang Yan took a deep breath. Misunderstanding? Bai Feng treats Azura like her own back garden, and enters and leaves as she pleases. Moreover, the Fearless Alliance came marching to our doorstep with their weapons drawn. Yet you're calling this a misunderstanding. Hallmaster Lin, if this continues, how would that affect Azura's reputation in the independent state? Please give your order, my lord. Lin Ke expressed his deepest sympathy for Jiang Yan. EY, with your lord's protective personality, how could he harm her? How about this? Let's have a fair match. If you win the fight, I'll stay in Azura and allow you to punish me however you want. But if I win? Yi Wanwan paused briefly before continuing. If I win, then let your lord leave with me? This way, she'd the one benefiting no matter what. 7-star felt his head pounding fiercely as he watched his president acting suicidal again. He hastily walked over her and sent her a cautionary look. Sisphone. Yi Wanwan was currently very depressed from having precious time with her gorgeous man interrupted, so she couldn't help but stir up some trouble. What? My idea was super good and fair. When Yi Wanwan's words turned more offensive, 7-star was beside himself with anxiety. Sis enough. The president was seriously too hard to look after this time. Si Yihan imperceptibly sighed as he watched his girl having an awful amount of fun causing trouble. He had no choice but to use an emphatic tone as he said, "Stop where you should stop." However, perhaps because he was in such a good mood since the person he longed for was right before his eyes, his admonishing warning didn't carry a hint of threat. Even Seven Star astutely detected that Lord Azura's tone when he spoke to their president was a bit too gentle. What rendered him more speechless was that their suicidal president, who ignored all advice, did a sudden 180 in her attitude. She acted so well-behaved that it was like she was possessed. I was wrong. I was just joking." Yi Wanwan obediently apologized and sincerely turned to Jiang Yan. "Great bodyguard Jiang, today was truly a misunderstanding. Please forgive me for any offense I committed." A misunderstanding? Such a giant commotion, and they were supposed to let it slide with Emir. It's a misunderstanding? However, Jiang Yan himself knew that a war between the Fearless Alliance and Azura right now would have no advantage whatsoever. This had to also be why his lord kept his temper with the Fearless Alliance again and again. As soon as Jiang Yan thought of his lord's well-thought-out long-term strategy and his lord's tolerance and restraint, Jiang Yan was overcome with shame regarding his own impulsiveness. In the end, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and stand back. "Well then, my esteemed Lord Azura, see you later." Yi Wanwan left with a wave of her hand. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Lord Azura, who always ignored Bai Feng disdainfully, actually nodded lightly in response this time, and silently stood in his spot as he escorted the girl with his gaze. When Yi Wanwan looked back and saw his figure, which seemingly melted into the night, and standing there unmovingly, she inwardly grumbled in complaint. "He keeps telling me to be careful and not to let anyone discover our relationship, but he keeps seducing me. Wow damn. You're too awesome, President. You managed to retreat without any injuries despite trespassing on Azura's base single-handedly. You even dared to covet Lord Azura. No wonder you're a heroine, President. You're awesome, President. I'll be able to brag about today's events my whole life." Yi Wanwan's face was dark as she listened to her subordinate's mad praise. Was this something worth praising? At least wait until my relationship with Lord Azura actually becomes official and public. Chapter 1940. It wasn't a meeting but a date. A glass of red wine, scarlet as blood, gently swayed. Moonlight rays painted it a mysterious tint. The man holding the glass of wine had a scar running across the corner of his eye, but it didn't make him ugly. Instead, when paired with his inscrutable smile, it added a bewitching quality to his looks. "President, 3 trucks of supplies and that old woman were all abducted. Also, we can't get into contact with Elder Jean at all." The vice president of the Martial Arts Union softly reported to the man sitting on the sofa. "Meow." A big, black cat nimbly leaped onto the sofa and burrowed into the man's arms. The man placed his wine glass aside, an indescribable smile hanging on his face. "So are you certain it was the Fearless Alliance?" "Based on my investigation, most likely," the vice president replied. "Oh, most likely?" The man chuckled airily. "I'm certain. The culprit was really the Fearless Alliance, but I was unable to find any solid evidence. However, this was the Fearless Alliance's modus operandi, and I've investigated the other suspicious factions. All suspicion could be eliminated, except regarding the Fearless Alliance," the vice president answered truthfully. "Heh," the corners of the man's lips turned up. "I can understand robbing trucks of supplies, but abducting Elder Jean? Now that's interesting. President, I found out that woman went to Scarlet Flame's Academy. You know that the headmaster of Scarlet Flame's Academy is extremely proficient in hypnosis? Moreover, that woman hired many high-ranking mercenaries to perform missions for her." "Are you saying she's recovered her memory?" the man asked. "It's uncertain. I just think it's very possible," the vice president responded after a moment of thought. "I hope her memory will recover faster. Otherwise, what would the point be?" The man picked up the wine glass again and took a small sip. "Also, President, Nie Linglong's ambitions are getting too big. Are we really cooperating with her? Know the power behind her?" The vice president had a light frown on his face. You mean the direct line? The man was contemplative. President, you should know what the direct line wants to do. They absolutely won't hold back on the independent state. Heh, we're just using each other. The man smirked. A good show is about to begin, no? The next day at Azura's headquarters, Lin Kei sought Si Yihan out early in the morning. He wore a hectic expression as he reported, "Ninth brother, I just got news that Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred contacted all the major underground organizations of the independent state and summoned a meeting." Si Yihan set down the document in his hands. Summoned a meeting? That's right. I have no idea what the heck those two bosses are doing. Why are they summoning a meeting out of nowhere like this? I heard that they invited the periphery organizations, the underground organizations, basically any organization with a presence in the independent state. Should we go? Lin Kei inquired. Yes. Si Yihan didn't express any hesitation. Azura currently had a cooperative relationship with Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred, so they naturally had to extend them some courtesy by attending this kind of meeting. One more thing. I heard that they actually specifically invited the Fearless Alliance this time. What are they thinking? Lin Kei was a bit confused since the Fearless Alliance had always been a lone wolf and didn't show courtesy to anyone, regardless of whether they were good or evil. Was it related to the events last night? Lin Kei murmured. Si Yihan didn't seem surprised to learn the Fearless Alliance was invited. He calmly answered, "We'll find out when Wheelie covertly peeked at a certain person." Okay. Why did he suddenly feel like Ninth Brother agreed to go not to attend a meeting, but to go on a date? Chapter 1941 The Great Devil Will Take You on a Flight. Lin Kei saw through his ninth brother abusing his position, but didn't vocally expose it. That's all. If there's nothing else, I'll leave now. Lin Kei was about to leave when Si Yihan suddenly called out, "Hold on. Take this with you." Lin Kei glanced at the black lockbox on Si Yihan's desk. Isn't this the thing we confiscated from the Fearless Alliance members who were attempting to sneak into the 14th district? Si Yihan didn't even look up. Yes. Help Wanwan escort it to the 14th district. Lin Kei nearly turned unconscious from his rage. Are you for real? You were clearly the one who insisted on confiscating their object, but now that you've made up, you want to help her personally deliver the package? Lin Kei was crushed from being stuffed with another scoopful of dog food. Why didn't they just go ahead and fill him up to the point of bursting and dying directly? Well, if things continued to develop like this, it wouldn't be long before he died from overeating. At the lack of response, Si Yihan looked up. Was there anything else? And no. I'll go deliver it right now. And so Lin Kei accepted his fate and played the role of a delivery man. People called their 13th district hell and claimed not a mosquito could fly through it. Now things were great. Their great devil would personally take you on a flight. At the Fearless Alliance. Inside her office, Yuanwan was petting Vims when Big Dipper hastily dashed inside to provide a report. "Zisfeng. We just got news that the bosses of Slaughter's Gate and Heavenly Hatred secretly summoned a meeting with various leaders, and the Fearless Alliance is on the guest list." Yuanwan was startled. Meeting with various leaders? What the heck? Everyone in the independent state knows that the Fearless Alliance never befriends any organization, so why did those two bosses think of inviting the Fearless Alliance? Yuanwan murmured. 7-Star, who was standing on the side, speculated. I looked into it and discovered that a lot of factions were invited this time, and the majority of them were enemies with the Martial Arts Union. There are also some neutral factions. They clearly want to make allies with other factions, so it's not strange that the Fearless Alliance was invited. Big Dipper enthusiastically exclaimed. Damn, Slaughter's Gate. Heavenly Hatred. They're part of the top 3 core factions in prison. Are we going, Sisfoam? We should go and get some experience. It'd be good to have some fun too. Yi11 considered it for a moment before seriously refuting. Go? No way. Our Fearless Alliance has always been a lone wolf and never participates in the disputes between the Martial Arts Union and prison. After saying that, Yi11 thought of something. Wait. Prison? Isn't Azura also a part of prison's 3 core factions? That's right, Big Dipper answered. Oh, so does that mean Lord Azura will also go? Big Dipper was quick to reply, of course. With a swish, Yuanwan pulled the invitation from Big Dipper's hand. Then let's go and have a look. It'd be good to have some fun. 7-star. Big Dipper. Sisfong, are you sure you're only going to have some fun? A moment later, Yuanwan got rid of Big Dipper and 7-star, and called First Elder to her office. She had a very important item on her agenda. She happened to have Si Yihan's hair on hand, so it'd be good to have First Elder look into whether Tang Tang was her and Si Yihan's child. First Elder, do you still have the equipment you obtained a while back? Yuanwan asked while looking at First Elder. First Elder nodded. I do. He had no idea why the president kept using the DNA testing equipment, but he wouldn't delve into the matter since the president didn't tell him. Chapter 1942. The beauty mistreated me 1,000 times great. Yi Wanwan nodded and promptly handed the wooden box holding Si Yihan's hair to First Elder. Test this sample with the sample I gave you last time. Tell me the results once you have them, Yi Wanwan instructed. First Elder nodded and turned to leave. Yi Wanwan felt nervous for some reason this time though. Tang Tang should be her and Si Yihan's little darling, right? The DNA testing required several days, so Yi Wanwan didn't stay in the Fearless Alliance and returned to Scarlet Flame's Academy. After Yi Wanwan arrived at the academy, she didn't submit the hair immediately. First, she needed to look into who issued this mission, and why the mission required Si Yihan's hair. If she handed over Si Yihan's hair without knowing the reason, what if Si Yihan was harmed by this somehow? However, the information regarding the mission poster was almost always kept confidential, and considered Scarlet Flame's Academy's classified information. It would be very difficult for her to discover the identity of the mission poster. Only the headmaster of Scarlet Flame's Academy and the higher-ups of the Academy knew, and it was impossible for the students and instructors to find out. In her helplessness, Yi Wanwan had no choice but to visit the residence of her master, Elder Gong, in one last desperate attempt. If Elder Gong was unwilling to look into it for her, then Yi Wanwan could only forget about this mission. She wouldn't submit Si Yihan's hair. I heard you accepted 3 missions in a row, and 2 of them were S rank while the third one was S+ rank? Elder Gong had brewed a pot of tea in the living room. After Yi Wanwan poured a cup for Elder Gong, he suddenly turned to her and asked that question. Yi Wanwan nodded and honestly replied, yes, master. How impressive of you then. No one at Scarlet Flame's Academy has ever dared to accept 3 S-rank missions in a row, let alone the fact that one of them was S+ rank, Elder Gong said. Before Yi Wanwan could reply, he continued, you just accepted the missions a few days ago, so why are you back already? What's the progress on those missions? Elder Gong appeared to show great concern for Yi Wanwan's mission progress. Yi Wanwan had a slightly embarrassed expression when she heard that. How should she start? Emperor Ji's ring was bid on by her own man, and the item from her S+ rank escort mission was also stolen by her own man. And the only mission she could finish involved his hair, so she had to consider his safety too. After some careful thought about this, seriously, Si Yihan mistreated her 1,000 times, but she still treated him like her first love. Wasn't this situation twisted? Master. Actually, I came here today because I had a matter to request of you, master. Yi Wanwan began guiltily. After all, she was inquiring after information regarding the mission poster of an S-rank mission, something that was extremely classified regardless of which mercenary academy they were in. If the mission poster's information could be easily uncovered, who would dare to come to the 3 great mercenary academies and issue a mission again? What if the mission was to assassinate some major figure? If a small investigation could uncover information about the mission poster, that would be disastrous. Hence, in the independent state, whether it was the 3 great mercenary academies or some smaller mercenary academies, they considered protecting the mission poster's identity their top principle. As a result, Yi Wanwan really found it awkward to request such a thing from Elder Gong out of principle. Chapter 1943 Purely Curious, what is it? Elder Gong asked with a light chuckle after drinking a sip of tea. Yi Wanwan turned it over in her mind for almost a minute before gritting her teeth and brazenly asking, "It's nothing really, Master. I was just purely curious. I accepted an S-rank mission, and it involved obtaining Lord Azura's hair. Say, Master, who's so bored that they'd want someone's hair and set this mission as an S-rank mission?" Elder Gong glanced at Yi Wanwan and seriously answered, "If it was a normal person's hair, it wouldn't be qualified to be a D-rank mission, let alone an S-rank mission. However, is Lord Azura someone easily trifled with? The mere act of obtaining a strand of his hair might lead to your clan's destruction in a worst-case scenario. Then, Master, do you know who issued this mission? Can you look into it?" Yi Wanwan asked. "Why are you asking this?" Elder Gong furrowed his brows immediately. "I'm curious. I'm purely curious." Yi Wanwan promptly responded, "Curious? Are you trying to deceive me like I'm a 3-year-old? Elder Gong's expression darkened instantly. Wasn't this excuse too clumsy? Yi Wanwan thought for a moment, her eyes rolling before she looked at Elder Gong with a pout. She crafted a tale that was half true and half false. "Actually, Master, I've obtained Lord Azura's hair already, but I don't know who issued this mission, and why they want Lord Azura's hair. Think about it, Master. What if the mission poster had ill intentions and will harm Lord Azura after obtaining his hair? At that time, the entire Azura would hunt me down like crazy, so I don't dare to submit this mission." "What? You obtained Lord Azura's hair?" Elder Gong was surprised. "She finished an S-rank mission in a few days?" "Yes, that's right." Yi Wanwan bobbed her head. "But I'm too afraid to submit the mission. Master, you also know how it's all demons and devils in Azura. I'm scared." Elder Gong shook his head and sighed softly. Elder Gong was silent for a while before finally answering. "In truth, Wanwan, you don't need to be afraid. It was your senior sister Worryless who issued this mission back then." Yi Wanwan was flabbergasted and incredulous when she heard that. "Who issued it?" "Worryless Nya." In other words, it was the pre-amnesia me who issued the S-rank mission of obtaining Lord Azura's hair. Isn't this too melodramatic? Why did I want Lord Azura's hair? Your senior sister Wordless fell in love with a man when she was still in the independent state, and had a child with him. But your senior sister Wordless didn't know that man's true identity. That man claimed to be a minor leader in Azura, but your senior sister Worryless suspected that man's true identity to be Lord Azura of Azura." Elder Gong slowly reiterated the story. "Yi Wanwan. Why didn't senior sister Worryless ask him herself outright?" Yi Wanwan hastily asked. "Your senior sister Worryless had an extremely headstrong personality. After she discovered she was pregnant, she never sought out that man again and broke all ties with him. With your senior sister Worryless one personality, why would she be willing to contact a man who was unwilling to even reveal his own identity, let alone ask him directly?" Elder Gong said. "Yi Wanwan. If that was the case, Si Yihen also didn't seem to know she was Worryless Nya, so didn't that mean she also concealed her own identity?" Chapter 1944 specializes in robbing his wife's things. Moreover, your senior sister Worryless was deeply in love with Emperor Ji back then, so perhaps she was afraid of Emperor Ji discovering too. Elder Gong shook his head. Yi Wanwan didn't agree with how Worryless Nya was afraid of Emperor Ji finding out. There was even a child involved, so how could she conceal this matter from Emperor Ji? Anyway, with Worryless Nya's extremely apathetic and headstrong personality, there was no way she'd seek Lord Azura out to interrogate him. It didn't take much for her to figure out Worryless Nya's reaction. Did you want Worryless Nya to find a man who didn't even tell her his true identity to aggressively tell him she was pregnant, then ask him about his true identity, and make him take responsibility? Stop fooling around. Even the current Yi Wanwan couldn't do such a thing, let alone Worryless Nya back then. Unfortunately, your senior sister Worryless went missing after giving birth to the child. Elder Gong's expression was rather lonely. "Master, isn't Worryless Nya with the Nya residence right now?" Yi Wanwan asked. "The Nya residence? Elder Gong shook his head. I haven't visited the Nye residence, and the worryless Nye at the Nye residence has never come to Scarlet Flames Academy to pay me a visit. Also, Emperor Ji told me some time ago that the worryless Nye at the Nye residence might not be the genuine one. What? Weren't you recommended by Emperor Ji? Didn't he tell you about it? Forget it, you know now, but don't tell anyone to avoid making trouble for Emperor Ji. After all, no one has any proof about this matter. I understand, Master. Yuanwan nodded. In other words, Ji Shiran knew long ago that the current worryless Nye was fake, and knew she was the real worryless Nye. Just what trick did Ji Shiran have up his sleeve? Go and submit the mission. Good luck on the other 2 missions too. Truthfully, you just need to finish another S+ rank mission, and you'll have broken another one of Nye Linglong's records. Yuanwan truly wasn't that interested in Nye Linglong's record. There was nothing more important than obtaining mercenary honor points right now. Moreover, regarding those 2 missions, forget about Emperor Ji's ring. With Si Yihan's personality as the Vinegar King of Asia, it was absolutely impossible for him to give her Emperor Ji's ring. As for that lockbox, it was also stolen. Just what kind of sin did she commit? Why did she have such an unreliable man who specialized in stealing his wife's things? Soon, Yuanwan left Elder Gong's residence and arrived at the mission submission area. Yuanwan was fairly confident regarding Lord Azura's hair. Excluding extenuating circumstances, Si Yihan was the wild man who concealed his identity from her back then, and the man who sired Tang Tang. Of course, all of this still needed verification from the DNA test results. When Yi Wanwan arrived at the mission submission area, a Scarlet Flames instructor turned to her and asked with a faint smile, "Have you brought Emperor Ji's ring here, Yi Wanwan?" Yi Wanwan, why did you have to ask about Emperor Ji's ring? Why couldn't you ask about Lord Azura's hair? Many nearby mercenaries crowded around Yi Wanwan upon seeing her. Yi Wanwan accepted 2 S-rank missions and 1 S+ rank mission not too long ago, and she was here submitting a mission already? Damn, did Yi Wanwan really finish all her missions? Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. Yi Wanwan grumpily looked at the instructor and brusquely snapped, "I don't." All the mercenaries nearby revealed an as I expected expression upon hearing that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.